This video is covering working out the problems on our semester 2 final exam review, or our practice test, starting with problems 25 and going to the end. Starting at 25, we're dealing with trig, and so a little quick review of our rules. If you remember the phrase SOHCAHTOA, sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. All right, so number 25, we're asked to write the tangent ratios for angle P and angle Q, and I already have, I think, most of the answers written on this, so we'll just talk about where they come from. Find your angle, so here's P. Tangent is the TOA, so it is the opposite, which is 16, over adjacent, which is the 12. So tangent of P is 16 over 12. And then for angle Q, opposite is 12, and adjacent is 16. So 12 over 16. Remember, neither one of these uses the 20 because the 20 is the hypotenuse. Number 26, ratios for sine and cosine. This time we will use the hypotenuse, SOH, KAH. The hypotenuse is the 17, so that will be in the bottom of each of these. Find our angle for sine, or for our angle is A, and for sine it is opposite, so 15 over 17. And for cosine it is adjacent, that's the 8 over 17. Number 26 is where we start actually working problems with our trig functions. We know we'll be using trig because they're mixing up angles and side measures. If it was only side measures on a right triangle, it'd be Pythagorean theorem, but since we have angle measures, this is the trig. So identify your angle, and the sides we have. 19 is the opposite side, x is the hypotenuse, and the trig function that uses opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So it is sine of 20 degrees is opposite over hypotenuse. Then once you have that trig function written, that equation, we want to solve for x. So let's multiply both sides by x. So we have x sine 20 equals 19. We need to get rid of that sine of 20, so divide both sides by the sine of 20 degrees. And we have x equals 19 divided by sine of 20 degrees. And if you type that into your calculator, you will get the 55.6. On number 26, we have 36 degrees. The x is the adjacent side. The 10 is the hypotenuse. The trig function that uses adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So this time we have 36. Cosine of 36 is adjacent over hypotenuse. Solve for x. So let's multiply both sides by 10. And we have x equals 10 times the cosine of 36. And if you type in 10 times the cosine of 36 degrees into your calculator, you will have our answer, which is approximately 8.1. Move that out of the way. All right, moving on to number 29. 29 is an application for a trig problem. The height in this case is approximately 308 feet. I'm going to get that out of the way, so let me move it over here so we have a little room to work. If you read the whole thing, what they're asking us for is the height of the building, so let me call that h. I'm given an angle. When I look at the sides that I'm given the opposite side, that's the h, and I'm given the adjacent side. That's the 100. Tangent is the trig function that uses opposite and adjacent. So let's set that up. Tangent is 72, is h over 100. We want to solve for h, so let's multiply both sides by that 100 to get the 100 out of the denominator. And if you type 100 times the tangent of 72 into your calculator, you will have 308 feet when it is rounded to the nearest foot. Number 30, we're still talking about side lengths and angle measures, but if you notice this time, your x is where the angle measure would be. So a little bit different. The 20 is our hypotenuse, the 11 is adjacent, and the trig function that uses adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So cosine of x is 11 over 20. We need to solve for x. We can't add, subtract, multiply, or divide to get that x by itself. What we can do is the inverse cosine. So remember way back to when we worked with trig, if you wanted to find the angle, you had to use the inverse cosine button on your calculator. If you type that into your calculator, it will spit out 57 degrees. Do make sure that your calculator is set on degrees and not on radians for the angle measurement. Number 31 is a similar kind of problem. If you've already worked this out, angle A, the measure of angle A, should be approximately 22 degrees. Let's see how to get that. Okay. Angle A is what we're looking for down here. You can call it angle A, you can call it X. The 100 is the opposite side. The 249 is the adjacent side. So we are looking at tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. And since we want to know what A is, this is where we use an inverse trig function. So the inverse tangent of 100 divided by 249. Go ahead and type that into your calculator, and you will get, rounded to the nearest degree, 22 degrees. As we move away from trig, we start reviewing circles. The equation of a circle, just for a little recall, is, x minus the x coordinate of the center squared plus y minus the y coordinate of your center squared equals radius squared. And so when we use that form and the center and radius that we're given, it's x minus -4 squared plus y minus the 6 quantity squared equals 7 squared. 7 squared is 49, and when we simplify that double negative, it turns into a +4. And so we get our answer.